Welcome back, Spider Pig fans. Y'all know what time it is. Another video, some entertainment into it. And we got a nice little lineup today. Yes, it's another day in paradise. Let's get here.
Let's hear for Kid Capri. All right. How y'all doing? How you doing over here? Let me hear. Come on, let me hear. Hey! Let's turn this motherfucker out. Hey! Oh, damn it. And you don't know how to dress? Shit, I'm coordinated, motherfucker. And they told me it was a dress code, man. What happened? Told me to put on my best shit. Ain't nobody else got their best shit on. Ain't that a bitch? This is what I got my shit on. You don't find this shit in one damn store. I've been all over Los Angeles looking for this shit. Yeah. See my happy socks? I got them motherfuckers on too. You know I try to tell kids, stay out of gangs. Gangs are no good for you. Try to go to school, learn something. That's right. Stay out of them gangs. I try to keep my son out of a gang. You know, they got color too, no, but color, y'all shouldn't do that. Blue, you get shot by a gang wearing red, you wear red. You get shot by a gang wearing blue. They never shoot my black ass. I wear pink and put a ribbon in my hair. And they got these gang signs, scare me to death. Be doing like this to them, saying, you know them all them shit, man, scare you to death, boy. Be doing this shit, get the fuck out the way, brother. This some serious shit here. I'm at the light, waiting in my car, doing like this to myself, minding my own motherfucking business. Brother pulled up next to me, talking about, hey, brother, where you from? Where you from? I said, booger, booger, booger. What you think I'm from? Stay out of them games. I'm making me some money now. I'm happy I'm making money. Got myself a house right away. You never see that shit go up my motherfucking nose. Shit. I was at a party in Beverly Hills and they gave me some of that stuff called cocaine. Let me tell you what that stuff did to me. That stuff made me happy. I ain't never been this happy in my life. I was so happy I gave all my money away. I don't ever want to be that damn happy again. Shit. That's it. My kids out of them damn games. I love the young generation, though. I'm telling you, I love the young generation. We had our generation. I like to rap. I love rapping. Poets. Poets. I'm a rapper myself. I'm a rap for y'all. Y'all think I can't do it? Listen to this shit. Look who's hanging out with the falcons. Just because you're on top of a mountain. But what goes up must come down, ho. They didn't give a fuck about you 4 years ago. What you gonna do when it starts drinking? Motherfucker, you probably start drinking. Rap generation, man. We're a rap generation. We had our generation. When I was coming up, man, I used to have my generation. My hair was afro that motherfucking big. I used to pick my hair like that. Shit. And when I ran and the wind would hit it, it looked like I had a cape on. That motherfucker would... O.J. Simpson, he's still going through that shit. I'm so sick of that damn O.J. Simpson. God damn. That's great. I don't even drink orange juice anymore. I drink buttermilk now. Fuck them. O.J. never spoke to a black person 10 years ago. He didn't speak to me. All of a sudden, everybody crying for O.J. Fuck O.J. So I goddamn Simpson. While he's in court, I should go break into that motherfucking house and get them damn fucking sofa out that motherfucker or something. Fucking O.J. Simpson. Everybody go, O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson. Fuck O.J. Simpson. I got a friend in jail doing 20 years for something he didn't do. Cry over his ass, goddammit. I was in Beverly Hills recently, about 2 years ago. OJ wouldn't even speak to me. And all of a sudden, I saw him about 6 months ago. He gonna look at me and speak to every black person. He look at me, hey, brother, I did like this.
For Hype Plus, it's your boy K-Rob. Once upon a time in the PJs. If you grew up in the 90s or early 2000s, you may remember that as the opening line of the official theme song to the PJs, performed by the legendary George Clinton. The PJs was an American adult stop-motion sitcom created by and starring Eddie Murphy, along with Larry Wilmore and Steve Tompkins, both former and living color writers. With stop-motion animation created by the Will Vincent Studios, it was produced by the Murphy Company, Imagine Entertainment, in association with Touchstone Pictures, a milestone for the Walt Disney Company because it was their first adult-oriented animated show. A show featuring the voice of one of the biggest comedic performers of all time that also premiered with such huge ratings. It's often revered today as a classic, but people are often surprised how short-lived the show actually was outside of syndication when you compare it to other similar shows airing around that time, like The Simpsons and Futurama. So here's why the PJs ended. The show was created with the actor, comedian, and writer Larry Wilmore decided he no longer wanted to be a hired hand and decided to create his own projects. After informing his agent and after pitching several spec scripts, Larry was offered a development deal with Touchstone Pictures / the Walt Disney Company. Shortly after, Wilmore also received a call informing him that Eddie Murphy was interested in doing an animated show. Wilmore initially passed on the idea because he didn't want to do a Saturday morning cartoon, but changed his mind when it was further explained it would be a primetime sitcom instead. Murphy, who recently worked with Disney voicing the character Mushu in 1997's Mulan, wanted to do the sitcom, but felt all the animated sitcoms of that time looked the exact same. So Murphy pitched Muppet-like puppets in the projects, an idea Murphy had on Thanksgiving 1997 while watching the 1960 show Thunderbirds. They decided to go with the claymation instead. Wilmore enlisted the help of friend, writer Steve Tompkins, and from there they began to shape the world of Thurgood Stubbs and the inhabitants of his neighborhood. The show's premise and themes. The PJs tell the story of Thurgood Stubbs and his wife Muriel in the Lawrence Hilton Jacobs housing project, where he is the superintendent, and the many adventures of the Stubbs and their friends, while taking a satirical view of the ups and downs of life in the Chicago, Illinois area, which was modeled after the Brewster Douglass public housing project in Detroit, Michigan. The show deals with social problems such as government efficiency, gang war, racial inequality, drug abuse, and poverty. At its core, the PJs is about people pulling together in the best and worst of times and helping each other out. Cast, crew, and production. The show boasts an amazing supporting voice cast, including Loretta Devine, Jeanette Dubois, Jennifer Lewis, Cassie Davis, and a slew of other great voice artists. With the claymation animation being produced by Will Vincent Studios, notable for creating the iconic California Raisins. The show being the first primetime series to feature stop-motion animation using the process of foamation. Each half-hour episode cost about $1 million and took over 2 months to produce. Will Vincent Studios' team included 150 people manipulating the bulbous foam figures on 4 identical sets. Protests and criticism. Before it made its official debut, the show was accused of showing TV audiences a negative view of inner city life and sparked protests leading up to its premiere, but it still managed to generate strong ratings. We were concerned that the show does not present an accurate and honest depiction of the African American community. It does present racially demeaning and offensive stereotypes. Earl Afari Hutchinson, the director of Coalition Against Media Exploitation. I kind of scratch my head why Eddie Murphy's doing this, because it shows no love at all for black people. I'm not saying that we're above being made fun of and stuff like that, but it's really hateful, I think, towards black people. Plain and simple. Spike Lee. We thought the show was emphasizing the negative, especially in showing African American men drinking. 40s. They agreed that after the first 13 episodes they completed have aired, Thurgood would stop drinking. NAACP branch president Billy Green. We met with the NAACP. They have no problem with the show now, but when we first showed them a scene with characters drinking 40s, they couldn't even hear the joke being made all around that scene. Namely, that it's stupid to sit around drinking all that liquor. These characters come from my life. I'm not allowed the same autobiographical options that a white writer would. Wilmore. If you ever been to a project, you know we've got crackheads, you've got hot chicks, you've got old croonies. Jeanette Dubois. There's a double standard. If a black actor played Smokey on a drama like NYPD Blue, he might get an Emmy nod for portraying a victim of addiction. But we're condemned because our addict's a cartoon character depicted as a multifaceted person? I don't get it. Tompkins. The PJs isn't belittling those who live in the housing developments. This is a unit of people who know each other, care about each other. They're into each other's lives. They're all into each other's business. Loretta Devine. Show's premiere. The show debuted on Fox on January 10, 1999, following the network's coverage of the NFC divisional playoffs. 2 days later, the second episode aired in its regular Tuesday night time slot. In its debut, the PJs pushed aside much of its competition to finish 13th for the week. Eddie's absence. When it came time to promote the PJs, Murphy himself stayed away from the talk show circuit and other interviews concerning the PJs. Unlike other major movie film stars that was linked to high-profile TV projects, even though his name was used in every piece of marketing material. The reason for his unavailability, sources close to him say, is that Murphy has been too wrapped up with films and family to devote time to discussing the show. The PJs wasn't the first project to deal with Murphy's absence. Aside from press junkets, Murphy has stayed off talk shows and away from print interviews from other films of that time, including Dr. Dolittle, Milan, and Holy Man. Murphy had been missing from the spotlight after the highly publicized May 1997 incident in which he was stopped by police in West Hollywood and being accompanied by a known transsexual prostitute. And several of the show's 8 executive producers said they did not feel that Murphy's unavailability to promote the show would hurt the show. Eddie has a very busy film schedule. He's doing 3 films with Imagine, plus working on this show. His performance and his contributions is promotion enough. Tony Kratz, Imagine Television co-chairman. In May of 1999, the New York Times article reported that Murphy denied reports of walking away from the show after being pulled from its original lineup. Eddie was just frustrated when we first got the news, says a source close to Murphy, but he's been in the studio recording new episodes, and it's all moving forward. Fox eventually ordered 22 additional episodes of the show for the following season. Allegedly, during the show's second season, Murphy became too busy with the film to come in and record for the show, so that led to the hiring of actor Phil Morris. Got called to come in on the PJs because Eddie was in New Jersey and didn't want to come out for every episode. And if they could find somebody to fill in for him for Thurgood Stubbs, so be it. So they hired me, and then I record with the other cast, but I would be in a separate booth so that if Eddie chose to be in that episode, they could just lift my voice right out. Morris. Even though Phil Morris debuted as the voice actor for Thurgood in the 11th episode of season 2, it wasn't until season 3 that Murphy stopped voicing him altogether, over disputes as well as being involved in other projects at the time. Other notable changes included smaller production budgets, outsourcing from Will Vincent Studios to Charge Productions, and Disney having no involvement in the 3rd season, as they were uninterested in making a 3rd season. Network switch and cancellation. After 2 seasons on Fox, the show moved to WB for a 3rd and final season. It began to air on Friday and Sunday night primetime slots, but unlike the previous seasons that early on saw an average of 9.1 viewers every week, the ratings would decline, and the budget did not justify a season 4. The show would ultimately end on May 20th, 2001, leaving 2 episodes unaired until 2003. Lawsuit. In April of 2002, it was reported that a Chicago janitor, Tally Collier, filed a lawsuit and that the show stole from an amateur documentary of Collier's life. He was seeking $75,000 in actual damages and $10 million in punitive damages from star and producer Murphy, Imagine Entertainment, including producers Ron Howard, Brian Grazer, and Tony Katz, animator Will Vincent, and the Fox Network. Collier alleges that the show stole his likeness for the supporting character of Sanchez, who speaks with an electronic voice box and walks with a cane, like Collier, and the likeness of others in the video, which was shot by Daryl Murphy, no relation to Eddie, and submitted to an Oprah Winfrey show in 1998. Murphy also requested that Winfrey pass the tape on to various Hollywood folk, including Howard, Spike Lee, Tom Hanks, Quincy Jones, Fred Williamson. However, Winfrey never responded to Murphy's unsolicited submission, and it's not clear that she actually passed the film on to anyone. The copyright infringement lawsuit against actor Eddie Murphy's production company came to an end after 6 years of litigation when the 17th Circuit dismissed the complaint. The district court ruled that the infringement had not occurred, explaining that the works were not similar and defendants did not have access to the videotape. The court also found that the PJs were created before the videotape. Show's legacy. A total of 44 episodes airing during the show's run of 2 years and 4 months. The PJs won 3 Emmy Awards and 1 Annie Award. The show has lived a second life in syndication on networks like Fuse, NTV2, and Cartoon Network's Adult Swim throughout the years. Most recently with a home video release and being added to streaming services, including Pluto TV, Peacock, and Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud. And more importantly, the show is commonly mentioned in conversations of blacks in animation. And for its animation style alone, the PJs is considered one of the most innovative sitcoms in history. And Thurgood, another memorable character under Murphy's belt. Stay up to date with the latest news in comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel. And follow Comedy Hype on all of our social media platforms. And look out for our new original content on our new streaming service at comedyhype.com. For Hype Plus, this has been your boy K-Rob.
All right. This is a microphone check. This nigga crip walking. I can't even check the microphone. I can't even do this. Smokey looks like a crack fiend. That was never the case, bro.
My neighborhood gets a bad rap, but it's just like any other place. We got folks who take pride in their property.
A little to the left. Oh, that's it. That's it. Perfect. Now, if we can just do something with those chalk outlines, we gonna be good to go.
So the first episode starts off with Craig laying in his bed, unemployed, of course. His pops comes into the room and starts yelling at him about getting a job.
You said you'd get a job before the end of the week. It's the end of the week. I'm as serious as R. Kelly with a Girl Scout. You don't have a job by the time I get home tonight. I'm kicking you out.
Whose voice is this? No, this is not Bender the Robot. Is this Jake the Dog, Bender the Robot, doing a black man, black voice? This feels racist. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why.
Dana going to SOL Technical Institute. She making something of herself.
My picture square's on fire.
Ice Cube's eating breakfast with his family now. Some breaking news report comes on and it says it's a white lady missing somewhere. Everybody in the world is sad. This deaf comedy jam-ass humor, old-ass jokes.
A white woman has gone missing. She has not been seen for 2 hours.
2 hours?
Latricia Watkins been missing for 3 years. I ain't never seen anything about her on the TV or in the papers.
Latricia Watkins ain't missing. She's in jail.
Okay, I can't lie. That is a good-ass Ice Cube impression. Who is that? Motherfucking Phil Lamar, of course, bro. This nigga a all-star. Also, they gave the mom and the daughter the same voice and shit. It's that one chick, Susie Carmichael. She does the voice for this. She all-star. Everybody leaves for work and Craig is on the porch hanging out with Smokey now, telling him all his problems. What's up with this design, bro? Chris Tucker does not look like this. Nobody looks like this.
Man, that's why I'm glad I ain't got no father. I do what I want, when I want. A mama without a daddy like a cop without a taser, man. You can tell a brother to drop the knife, but unless you can shoot 1,000 volts up his ass, he ain't got no reason to listen.
Man, you stupid bitch.
Was this before the Boondocks? I feel like they were trying to emulate what the Boondocks were doing, but they just took all the wrong notes from that shit. Oh, so this BBW lady comes over and she offers Craig a job at her restaurant, Pig Feet and Biscuits. And she's very violent too, just in case you weren't upset enough about this.
Hey, Big Mary.
Don't even think I won't smack the black right off you, Smokey.
Move on, you black in the sun. Looking like Shaq and Drag.
Oh, we getting into it right now.
Shoot, it's Debo. Hi.
Hi, Debo. How you
Oh my
doing?
God. Who even is this? Big Mary? You're not a character. Why did they add her? Why did they need to add her? I like ghetto humor, but this is like too ghetto. This is like laughing at black people. This shit feels like it was written by some 4chan nerds. I'm so glad John Witherspoon didn't voice this nigga, man. I don't like any of these lines. I don't like anything about this show. This is not the same type of humor as Friday, bro. This was never like that. Again, it's like the times or whatever, but this shit only got 8. 8 episodes, so I'm not alone. This shit is trash. Everybody agrees.
What you doing home so early?
It's 5 o'clock, you idiot.
5 o'clock? What the hell we do all day?
You know, Craig was never like a bum type of character in the Friday movies, I don't think. I mean, I think he was just like a regular dude down on his luck, kind of like a stoner. But man, this nigga is a true scrub in this.
It's Friday. I ain't got nothing to do today, and I'm sleeping in.
This episode of Princess Cinema is sponsored by ShipStation. No matter how small or large your business is, ShipStation is here to make all your shipping needs way easier. You can keep customers happy and fulfill orders more than ever, all while cutting costs and managing it all from a single dashboard. Around this time of year, your business might have to deal with a lot of gift returns, late deliveries, and so many customer emails. ShipStation will let you manage all your orders, all from the dashboard. They let you print all the labels right there at home, and they allow you to easily compare rates and delivery times with different couriers. It's easier than ever to get out there and sell your stuff now. Running a business can be a lot of stress. A service like ShipStation is definitely a smart move if that's what you're doing. ShipStation will link to everywhere, all your online stores, including Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Shopify, and more. It's easy to set up, it's free to try, they got a free trial. Over 130,000 companies have used ShipStation to grow their e-commerce platforms, and they got the best rates in the industry, with up to 86% off USPS and UPS rates. Go to shipstation.com/Prim, use my promo code PRIM to sign up for your free 60-day trial. That's shipstation.com, promo code PRIM. Thank you, ShipStation, for sponsoring the show. Now, let's try to finish watching this cartoon. My God, almost forgot about the cartoon. He's trying to find a job now, and everybody's saying no to him. Why don't you just work at the damn Pig Feet and Biscuits? She just offered you the job, bro.
We got an opening down at the Pig Feet and Biscuits.
Man, you should join the army.
You two ready to be all that you can be?
Man, I like being less than I can be just fine.
Sign right here. You won't regret it.
Why is everybody so ugly? The only normal looking character is this white army dude. How about that, right? There is one funny joke in here in this first episode that I found. It happens after Craig can't find a job and his dad kicks him out of the house.
I'm kicking you the hell out!
Come on, Smokey.
He ain't saying I gotta leave.
Okay, another kind of funny part though. They watching TV and they watching Oprah presenting Halle Berry.
What you got on the TV?
Oprah Winfrey present Halle Berry.
In what?
Oprah Winfrey present Halle Berry. That's what they calling it.
Nobody but God can take that away from me.
I just wanted to know if you wanted fries with that.
Hey, Mama! I'm letting Craig spend the night.
Hi, Smokey's mom.
You be sure and help yourself to anything you want.
Mama! You embarrassing me!
So yeah, they have Smokey's mom in the same outfit and everything, but now she just looks like female Smokey and she wants to smash Craig all day. I said I wanted to revisit this neighborhood in my Friday review. I shouldn't have said that. I don't want to do this no more.
I don't need no Allen Iverson Theaters concession stand lady telling me I can't be buying popcorn with my food stamps.
So yeah, after Craig gets kicked out, he leaves Smokey's house because he don't want to get sexually assaulted. The cops pick him up and say he kidnapped some white lady. That's the whole episode, I guess. This shit is all over the place. How did it make it to 8 episodes? This is unwatchable. Again, it's just random stuff happening. That's not what Friday is. This looks like a Friday Flash game.
What the fuck is that?
It kills me to think of my Craig out there all alone, helpless.
Ah, he's staying at Smokey's house. I knew that boy was no good.
Approach the bench. Have you been watching Lost this season?
Did you see the one where they sat around and talked and nothing happened?
Best episode yet.
Oh wow, are y'all trying to roast another TV show, dog? Don't even go there, bro. Don't even go there. I never seen Lost, but it's better than this, I guarantee it. Ice Cube about to go to jail, and that's the end of the series. Man, I really wish they would have did that. There's more of these, though. It's not over.
Wait, Your Honor. I'm Susie Appleby.
All right. Case dismissed.
It's good to be home.
You can't come back until you have a job.
He got a job.
What?
Is that a tear?
I've never been proud of you, but, son, this comes close.
Shoot. I've been using that line on my mama since 1998. As far as she know, I've been fired from the drugstore, the supermarket, the copy barn, Paramount Pictures.
Wait, since 1998, this takes place in 2000. The first movie came out in 1995. You still don't have a job. I really wish this was good. This had a lot of potential. But once I heard Pops with the Bender's white voice, I knew it was gonna be a problem. This show's got that distinct 2000s raunchy humor where you just try to shock people instead of saying something actually funny. It's the lamest shit in the world. Being edgy is nothing unless it's funny. Anybody can tell an edgy, unfunny joke, bro. I hear them nonstop every day. You don't deserve to get paid for this. The first episode was written by a nigga named Jay Dyer. He's got some decent writing credits, I guess. I'ma smack the shit out this nigga, still. Big Mary, y'all, come on, bro. There's a lot more to unpack in the rest of these episodes. I already recorded the second episode review. Let me know if y'all want to see that. I totally understand, though, if you don't. It's got the Cube Vision logo, so Ice Cube definitely approved all this shit. I will never forgive you, Ice Cube. Again, I'm all for offensive humor, but it's gotta be funny and thoughtful. Don't let me catch your ass in the streets, Jay Dyer. I'm fading you, bro. Nah, it's fine. Who cares? It's fine.
Martin is one of the funniest sitcoms of the 90s, thanks to its hilarious cast of characters, many played by Martin Lawrence himself.
It's Sha-Day-Day. Say it with me. Sha-Day-Day.
But during Martin's final season, behind-the-scenes drama caused one cast member to leave the show, and another to almost get a spinoff.
I don't think there's enough room in here for us and Martin's ego.
Who took a walk? And who almost walked away with their own show? Find out on Behind the Backdoor Pilot, Martin.
I was just on the elevator with Shaka Khan.
As one of the flagship sitcoms on the Fox network, Martin brought the laughs from 1992 to 1997. But during production of the fifth and final season, tensions between Martin Lawrence and co-star Tisha Campbell reached a boiling point.
You know, right before Tisha left the set, because she had to, it got to that point, and I understood it. It's just like the Matrix. It was like, you know, you could hear silence.
Tisha Campbell left the show midway through the fifth season and filed a lawsuit claiming that Martin Lawrence had harassed her. With Campbell gone, the writers scrambled to explain why Martin's wife Gina was suddenly absent. In the episode where the gang takes a romantic Valentine's Day cruise, Gina misses the boat. Literally.
That is Gina. What? Gina, kick off the pumps. Run, baby.
Several season 5 episodes focus on the supporting cast, in particular Pam, Gina's best friend and a constant thorn in Martin's side. Remember the episode where Martin discovers he accidentally married Pam instead of Gina?
If you hadn't signed your paw print in the wrong place, we wouldn't be in this mess.
As season 5 wound down, the producers decided to focus an episode entirely around Pam. Episode 21 of season 5, Goin' For Mine, isn't just a solo Pam outing. It's actually a backdoor pilot for a potential Pam spinoff. Hit sitcoms love to sneak in backdoor pilots, seemingly normal episodes of your favorite shows that are actually secret pilots for new shows. Remember the episode of Girlfriends that introduced the characters from the game? Yep, that was a backdoor pilot.
Yeah, the game is a spin-off of Girlfriends because Tia's character was Joan's cousin.
Fellow Fox sitcom Married with Children also had a backdoor pilot that launched Top of the Heap, a spin-off about Al's friend and his son, played by a pre-Friends Matt LeBlanc. You can learn all about that by clicking the link above and watching our episode on the many Married with Children backdoor pilots. Going for Mine starts like any typical Martin episode. Remember the cartoon Martin in the later season's theme song? Why didn't he have a Fox Kids Saturday morning cartoon? Tommy and Cole pop in to take Pam to a concert and learn that Pam has lost her job.
Companies downsize all the time, sweetheart. You are not the first person to ever lose their job.
Martin pops in for his only scene in the episode. And Pam learns about a potential job opportunity from Martin's friend Trey, a brand new character we've never seen before.
Hold up. You work for Keep It Real Records?
Yeah.
That's always been a dream of mine to work for a record company. Currently, I'm looking for a more challenging career opportunity because
Trey, in other words, she's unemployed to Halloween. The boots and the goblins come out.
The rest of the episode takes place at Keep It Real Records, and we meet a brand new cast of characters. There's Donna, the receptionist.
Hey, Madonna, what's up, girl? Thank you so much for the baby pictures. Yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen an infant wearing a push-up bra.
Played by Jenna Von Hoy, best known as Blossom's Motor Mouth Pal 6 and Stevie on The Parkers. Sterling Sweets, the no-nonsense boss at Keep It Real Records.
Listen, when Trey gets here, send him in my office right away.
Right, boss.
Sweets is played by Phil Morris, a.k.a. Jackie Chiles on Seinfeld.
Jackie's cashing in on your wretched disfigurement.
Tony, a poor man's Joey Tribbiani.
You must be here for the video. Yeah, go throw your bikini on, honey. We'll do the audition in the back.
And delivery guy Clyde, who's kind of a creep.
Damn! Girl, who do you sing with? Booty and the Blowfish.
Pam lets Trey know she's interested in the A&R job.
I'm perfect for this job, man. You know Black Street? Yep. I used to live on that street.
Right away, we get a sense that the potential Pam spinoff would be a workplace comedy, akin to Just Shoot Me or The Jamie Foxx Show. Pam and Trey are instant rivals. And there's even a birthday present for the boss subplot.
Now would be a good time to kick in for Sweet's birthday gift. We need to get Sweet's a birthday gift.
We soon learn that Sweets might give Trey the boot.
Because if you don't bring me somebody soon, you're not going to be working A&R. You'll be working at KFC.
So Pam offers to find him some hot new talent.
You help me get that A&R job, and I'll get you the girl.
All I need is a foot in the door. Damn it, give me a toe. Now where am I going to find a singer?
Luckily, Pam finds a new voice in her former assistant Dante. Played by Tyrese. Hubba hubba. Unfortunately, Dante gets stage fright at his showcase for Sweets, but Pam comes to the rescue.
If it's magic, then why can't it be everlasting? So if it's
Trey tries to take credit for Dante, but Sweets learns that it was Pam who discovered the handsome crooner.
So you discovered Dante, huh?
I sure did.
Well, technically she discovered Dante, but you know, I discovered Pam, so if you really want to get technical, I discovered Dante too.
Oh guys, remember the subplot about the birthday gift for Sweets? They got him a golf club. The backdoor pilot ends with Trey and Pam's rivalry, promising hilarity to come.
Hey, don't worry about a thing, baby. I'm gonna take you under my wing.
If you don't get your ashy arm off my shoulder, you gonna have a broken wing.
Even Sweets comments on Trey and Pam's dynamic.
Yeah, this little combination is gonna be very interesting.
Echoing Lisa in the Simpsons spin-off showcase.
Chief Wiggum, I can't wait to hear about all the exciting, sexy adventures you're sure to have against his colorful backdrop.
Pam gets the job, and we get an awesome final freeze frame.
Yes!
Unfortunately, Pam's career in the music biz was short-lived. Fox declined to pick up Goin' for Mine as a series. As Tashina Arnold said in a 2017 interview, Fox was going to greenlight Goin' for Mine for the fall season, but changed their mind. There's no specific reason that I was given as to why it wasn't picked up. It could have been budget, it could have been they're changing the lineup, it could have been anything. Tisha Campbell returned for the two-part Martin series finale, having settled her lawsuit against Martin Lawrence and the producers. But Campbell returned only on the condition that she didn't have to film any scenes with Martin Lawrence. This made for one of the strangest TV series finales of all time, with Martin and Gina constantly missing each other and never appearing on screen together. Martin Lawrence and Tisha Campbell have reconciled in recent years.
This is how I knew that things were going to be okay. Martin called me the day after I separated to just reconnect.
And good news for fans. There's plans for a Martin reunion. Just like Shanae, Martin will live on forever with fans.
Forever Shanae!
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Atomic Abe for more videos about backdoor pilot episodes of your favorite TV shows, like the Home Improvement episode that launched a spinoff for Dave Chappelle.
I just want to state publicly that I'm sorry.
To say that Storm has powers is like saying nuclear explosions are warm. Aurora Monroe is more than a mutant. She is a literal force of nature, a goddess of lightning and thunder and rain. A descendant of sorcerers marked by white hair, in Wakanda they call her Hadari Yao, Walker of Clouds, for she wields elemental ability. Like Magneto's communion with metal, Storm is wind, rain, and lightning. To some, she is a queen. To others, she's a goddess. We are just lucky that Storm is so benevolent. Welcome to another episode of Painting Marvel Anatomy. In this series, I take you behind the scenes and do my best to educate in the ways of art and world building. This series represents my attempt to demystify the art process and illuminate my journey in the hopes that doing so will help you with yours. Today, we're painting the mutant Storm. There are many reasons to choose Storm. She's amazing. She can fly, she can control the wind, she can summon pouring rain and pelting ice, and she can call down lightning, a deadly precision force that moves 30,000 times faster than a bullet and strikes with a temperature 5 times hotter than the sun. She unbalances the game. It goes rock, paper, scissors, Storm. It doesn't matter who you're facing. You want her on your team. Today, we'll turn back the clock to the decade of my birth, the 1980s, and we're going to reference Mohawk Storm. More on that in a bit. Okay, so it doesn't take me too long to finish the thumbnail for this pose. I'm rendering her in profile. The emphasis here is on length and curves. I want lightning to flow from the sky into her body, and I want her to redirect that lightning with her outthrust arm. Her pose, which is basically the entire composition, should serve to emphasize that flow. Even her mohawk will ultimately point in the direction of her arm. Her eyes will be cold and white as ice, her lips pursed in anger and focus, and her bones will crackle and flow with electricity, like on a plasma lamp. Sounds pretty cool. All right, let's do it. Let's ink it. The human skeleton is an incredible machine. It helps you to sit, stand, walk, twist, and bend. Your spine consists of 33 bones, and with the help of a little yoga, you can become very flexible indeed. You have as many bones in your neck as a giraffe. Your ribs are flexible and protective, a housing for some of the most important organs in the body, and a structural support system for the musculature of that body. Bones are beautiful. Storm is regal, which means she carries herself like royalty, chest out and shoulders back. Her spine should reflect this, so I'll draw it with a supple, powerful curve. I'll be taking the time I need to get these bones right. Her skeleton is one of our iconic elements, after all, so we really have to stick the landing. I also start in early with that powerful arc of lightning. It's rare in these paintings that I get to incorporate a massive bar of electricity into the composition. Massive bars of electricity tend to draw the eye, which means I'll need the rest of the composition to sort of balance this out. To do this, I'll exaggerate the length of her arm to lend visual emphasis to the lightning. I will also focus on the story of the lightning, how it sweeps into the composition from the unseen clouds above and strikes her back as if drawn there. The repeating threads of light flow into her body perpendicular to the spine. They shimmer across her ribcage, rise up like a baby dragon to mount her upraised arm, and then, directed by talons of red-hot bone, the light will join together like lasers on the Death Star to fire a single burning ray down on our enemies. At least, that's what I'm going for. My emphasis here is on the creation of tight curves and dynamic straight lines, a feeling of strength and speed. I've drawn her skeleton right up to her face. This is Storm's skeleton. It should look beautiful, not monstrous. So we'll focus on grace and the weaving of electricity and bone to carry the image. And on keeping the electricity thin. A single bolt of lightning can stretch for miles, but it's usually only 2 to 3 centimeters thick. I've kept the lightning line work thin too, since I still want it to read as light. All right, the inks are in a good place. And before we move on to the coloring, let's take a moment to appreciate our own skeletons, shall we? Wherever you are, take a moment to stand up and let's do these stretches as advised to me by my chiropractor, Dr. Wolf.
Because you're sitting at your desk, you want to stand up to do the stretches because you're sitting and everything is all compressed and forward. So one of the great things to do is to open your pecs up, and your hand should be on the door jamb at the same level as your shoulder, and you pull and turn so you feel the stretch right here. And you shouldn't really stretch hard, you should just stretch it easy. And you hold it for the count of like 5 to 10, and then you do the other side. You pull and you turn and you feel the stretch here. Awesome stretch, all right? When you're at your desk, you're all forward and everything is short, so you want to open it up. Another great stretch is to stretch your lats and your shoulder, because your shoulder's down all the time. So you want to grab a wrist, pull up and over so you feel the stretch here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also a great stretch is to open your upper back. So a lot of people do this, but that's really bad for you because you jam your spine in, but you want to open everything up so you go forward like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a great stretch. And another good one is to also stretch your arm this way. Good for stretching the back of the shoulder. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And also stretching should be light and gentle. It shouldn't be hard. These are great for you.
Okay, is that good? Let's sit down. Yes, I have a chiropractor. Dr. Wolf literally saved my career like 6 or 7 years ago, but that's a story for another day. In the meantime, if you're enjoying this channel, if you're enjoying this video, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Leave a comment too. I always want to hear from you. Storm first appeared in March 1975 in the so-called Bronze Age of comic books, during the heyday of blaxploitation films. And she was the first major female comic book character ever to be of African descent. To help make her more palatable to mainstream audiences, Storm was rendered with hair that was so impossibly long and flowing that she often used it to cover her nakedness. In short, she was an exotic fantasy woman. Eventually, though, Storm found a home with the X-Men. Here, she belonged. At Professor Xavier's school, young mutants could study and learn and find themselves in peace, safe from the bigotry of the world. Even in Kenya, her white hair and blue eyes made her different. The temptation for many in her position would be to try to blend in, to do everything you could to pass as acceptable in the eyes of the majority. Mohawks are not generally acceptable in the eyes of the majority. Mohawks are not traditionally beautiful. They are aggressive and sharp. In fact, the entire punk aesthetic is one that says, very simply, I don't give a what you think about me. By 1983, after a series of horrifying, eye-opening experiences, Aurora Monroe, on a mission with the X-Men in Japan, shaved her famous mane and gave herself a mohawk. This decision was not merely aesthetic. It signaled that Storm was no longer as naive and forgiving as she used to be. She was becoming stronger and harder. She was a leader now, and she was done caring what anyone else thought of her. It was a powerful message and a powerful moment, and it immortalized Storm as one of the very first female badasses in comic books. And that's why I chose the mohawk. Plus, she makes it look good. All right, so a couple of things. I was gonna go blue-white for the bones to give it a sort of X-ray effect, but I've decided to go with orange. Lightning is hot, and that orange hue makes the bones feel warm. It also works in harmony with the dark brown of her skin and provides a backdrop for her white eyes and blue-lit face to pop. I want the transition between her head and suit to be smooth so that it doesn't get in the way of her glowing orange skeleton. To do that, I paint a dark gradient on her skin. That gives me an opportunity to do a little sculpting and refinement in the face. I want to see anger and effort in the subtle lift of her lip. Then I add shadows into the roots of her hair to create a gradient for her mohawk and help that blend in a bit more. Once the fundamentals, her face and suit and hair are all taken care of, I turn my attention back to the lightning. I erase the inking lines and give it a subtle glow. I etch smaller tendrils of lightning between her bones and start making those bones glow wherever the lightning hits. I want her skeleton to shimmer, like when you're staring at a fire and watching the embers at the bottom flicker and flow with light. I go the extra mile on her fingers. I want those finger bones to look long and beautiful and as incandescent as candles. They'll also be the brightest parts of her bones to better showcase how she's focusing the light and directing it from her hand. From here, I refine. I refine everything. The bones, the teeth, the shading, the lightning. These are areas of focus for me, and they're going to be the area of focus for the audience. I work on the vertebrae of the neck, and I refine everything we can see of the skull behind her face. As I mentioned before, this should be creepy and fascinating, but not outright scary. So I'll keep the skin, bones, and electricity on the warm brown end of the spectrum, and let the bluish light of her eyes and face take visual priority. This minimizes the horror effect and keeps the emphasis on her personality. I heighten the visual powers of the lightning by adding cores of white heat. I turn up the heat in the bones by painting some areas redder and brighter. I enhance and enhance and enhance. The last step, which I won't always show you, but I thought I'd show today, is to orient Storm on the page. I've got a loose layout by now of how the text will lie, so I use this as a backdrop to get her positioned just so. Then I paint in darkness around her. I'm not entirely certain that this is a great idea. It kind of muddies her silhouette a bit, but I do really need for that lightning to lift off the page, or else you won't really see it and you won't feel the power of all those volts. To make this look as good as possible, I sweep the darkness into a sort of shape around her, similar to the compositional movement of the lightning, diffuse at her back, then funnel down and intensify down the length of her arm into the lightning bolt. I try to give the suggestion of clouds, but I've just about run out of time on this work, and I can't really start illustrating backgrounds now, or I'll never finish this book. Again, I'm not sure if that darkness was the right call, but that's the call I've made. Before it's finished, I give her little lightning earrings, very signature look, and with that, Storm is finished. Here's the thumbnail sketch. Here's the line work. And here's the final painted image. She looks good. I'm happy with how this turned out. I hope you are too. I guess we'll just have to see what the Marvel audience thinks of it. So what are we painting next? Well, after so long painting heroes, I think it's time we went for something a little bit more villainous, don't you think? Let's go with a toothy extraterrestrial that has a unique hatred of Spider-Man. Think you know who I'm talking about? Leave a message in the comments. Tell me what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. I want to do a lot more of these, but whether or not I can is wholly dependent on you and your support. So, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.
Growing up, my mom had a plaque hanging on one of the walls near the kitchen with a poem printed on it called "Children Learn What They Live." It's a very brief and simple piece, but it's still a wonderful read that has always stayed in the back of my mind. I'm going to toss it up on screen for a moment, so feel free to pause the video and give it a quick scan. There are so many lines that resonate with me because they either describe me or I can attribute them to the personalities of people I know and how they grew up. The last time I saw this plaque at my mom's house, it reminded me of a film I hadn't seen in years but distinctly remember the ending of. Naturally, the film is the subject of today's discussion, the 1992 animated piece, Bebe's Kids. Bebe's Kids is based on a stand-up routine done by the comedian Robin Harris, with the centerpiece of his punchlines revolving around the absurd behavior of the titular Bebe's Kids. The movie is significantly dialed back compared to the stand-up routine since it was, to a degree, still a kids' film. Hell, it even had a terrible, terrible Super Nintendo game that I actually owned and even revisited back when I still ran a gaming channel. The film held cultural significance too, as the first animated feature film that was made specifically by, about, and for African Americans, which also had the added bonus of combining two trends that were booming in Hollywood in the 90s. 90s, a wave of animated films, and the adoption of movies based on black culture, colloquially referred to as hood movies nowadays. Films like Boys in the Hood, New Jack City, Juice, South Central, and so on. Before we hop in, let me preface this entire video by candidly acknowledging that Bebe's Kids isn't exactly a good movie, but I applaud the themes it attempts to explore. In my Chapter Black video, when referring to the child psychic Game Master, I mentioned that children are an amalgamation of the choices made by adults, and Bebe's Kids kind of touches on that. Last note, be sure to join the community Discord where you can keep track of the video schedule as well as chat with me and some others, post memes, and even share your own content. If you feel like supporting the channel, feel free to hop over to the Patreon page, but more on that at the end. Let's go ahead and hop right in. Bebe's Kids follows the story of a guy named Robin as he recounts his first date with a woman named Jamaica. He attempts to shoot his shot with her after spotting her at a post-funeral get-together, which is already just a weird thing to do. Robin isn't exactly a bad person, but he's clearly not among the best of us. He's crude, callous, dismissive of the kids in later scenes, and really only cares about getting Jamaica to be his woman. This is the opposite vibe we get from Jamaica, who is kind, gentle, patient, and empathetic. While we won't necessarily be spending too much time talking about these two characters, it's important to establish that they're the personalities of the primary adults looking after the kids. After getting a ride home from Jamaica, Robin learns along the way that she has a son named Leon. Leon's a well-mannered and polite kid, but it's clear he lacks confidence. Robin again shoots a shot with Jamaica and she suggests they go to the amusement park Fun World, since trying to find a babysitter for Leon on a Friday night would be difficult to say the least. She recommends Fun World as a way for Robin to get better acquainted with her and her son, showing just how different her priorities are from his. Robin agrees and shows up at her house on the designated day, and unfortunately for him, he finds Jamaica is looking after Bebe's kids. The trio consists of LaShawn, the hyper-aggressive girl, Khalil, the militant gangster rap munchkin version of Ice Cube, and Pee-wee, the toddler with the OG complex and the eternally rancid diaper. When pressed about why she even has Bebe's kids in the first place, Jamaica mentions that Bebe went downtown but doesn't say why, only mentioning that she left $20 to pay for the kids' admission into the park. Right away, the movie goes from being about Robin's date to the experience of Leon and Bebe's kids, splitting things into an A plot and a B plot. We can almost entirely ignore the A plot aside from one or two things, since our focus is going to primarily be on the kids, which is the B plot. Right off the bat, Khalil and LaShawn waste no time picking on Leon, who is very clearly unhappy to have them along for the trip. Naturally, when it escalates to them hitting him in the backseat, he goes to call for his mom, only for Khalil to get even more aggressive and call him a tattletale, with LaShawn doubling down, saying that Leon's going to lose what little respect they do have for him. When Robin goes to ask Leon what's wrong, he reluctantly chooses to say nothing. This is an issue that kind of has multiple faces to it. First, we have Leon attempting to alert his mother to the problems going on, which is symbolic of his understanding that she's there to protect him as well as his inability to defend himself. Earlier in the movie, Robin notes that Leon is kind of a soft kid in that Jamaica shelters him, and those observations really start to take shape with Leon having no choice but to spend time around Bebe's kids, who have no problem belittling and pushing him around. The second part of this issue stems from Khalil's no snitching rhetoric. Leon is clearly incapable of standing up to Khalil or LaShawn on a personal or physical level, so his only avenue for relief is through the intervention of an adult. By tying his solution to snitch rhetoric and leveraging what little respect he does have in their eyes, Khalil and LaShawn cut him off from his only option and strategically stave off any meaningful consequences. Now, I understand the nuance of anti-snitch culture, but let's not pretend that it's not one of the single most toxic subcultures we have. These are just children whose actions need to be curbed and guided accordingly in order for them to develop into functional adults. Leon wasn't going to oust Khalil for an unsolved double homicide or tip off the feds to LaShawn's international drug trafficking empire. He simply wanted the bullying and harassment to stop. That kind of intervention is what parents are there for. It would be one thing if Leon ran to his mother to tell on Bebe's kids about every little thing they do, because that in itself would also be a character flaw. This difference in mindset between Leon and Bebe's kids is indicative of not only how they were raised, but where. After finally reaching the park, Khalil steps away from the group to get a drink from a nearby water fountain and is set upon by a group of Secret Service-looking white men that act as the security for Fun World. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't even bother mentioning that they're white, but in relation to the themes of the film as well as Khalil's character, it happens to be relevant. Without him doing anything wrong, they proceed to treat him as though he's going to be trouble based solely on his appearance. When he explains that he's just getting a drink, they tell him to watch his hostile tone. This might not seem like a big deal for a lot of people, but calling Khalil's attitude into question even though they were the ones in the wrong is a microaggression that plays into the angry black person stereotype that is just as embedded in our society now as it was in the 90s. It's also a way to take power away from Khalil by making it seem as though he's the one being aggressive towards them, which is a tactic we've seen countless times in modern America, often as a way for racial violence to be justified through the use of the "I was scared for my life" talking point. By twisting the narrative in real time like that, in the event anything goes south, it's easy for the aggressor to absolve themselves of any wrongdoing. It's not a new tactic by any means, and unfortunately it has a painfully high success rate. Anyway, the agents even go so far as to take Khalil's hat from him, speculating that the logo on it was some sort of gang insignia. Again, up to this point, Khalil has done nothing to invite their suspicion other than being an unsupervised black kid. When Khalil finally does retrieve his hat, it's through force, only doing so because he's effectively been excluded from an important conversation that concerns him personally, but also to retrieve what was rightfully his but wrongfully taken from him. This particular moment is striking in how it mirrors American politicians and how they approach the struggles of black Americans, where they have their own discussions on what it does or doesn't mean to be a black American, while simultaneously excluding black voices from the conversation. Before the standoff with Khalil concludes, one of the agents makes sure to tell him that no matter where he goes in the park, they'll be watching his every move. The point is emphasized by a frankly absurd number of cameras making themselves known to further intimidate the child. Naturally, this draws a parallel to the notion that in America, black people are held under a more intense magnifying glass when entering businesses or certain types of neighborhoods, because a lot of businesses and property owners have this baked-in idea, whether conscious or unconscious, that black people are inherently less trustworthy and intend to either steal or cause a disturbance. To drive all of this home, immediately after this, when the group is being read the rules of the park, the ticket lady refers to the no stealing rule and singles out Khalil specifically.
No stealing, that means you.
Once that moment passes, Robin sets the kids loose in the park since, again, he's more interested in bagging Jamaica than being a responsible supervisor. There's an interesting exchange between Khalil and LaShawn while the kids are in a gift shop looking at those cheap nameplates that can be found in just about every amusement park in America. Leon is able to find his name with relative ease, while Khalil and LaShawn lament the fact that they can never seem to find theirs, with LaShawn even commenting that she knows several girls with the same name as her. Despite how common her own name seems to her, and unable to pinpoint why she can't find her name, she can still on some level identify a lack of representation. I like this conversation because it pulls your attention to how Eurocentric names are the standard in America, despite the cultural diversity of the population that's constantly paraded and marketed as one of the country's greatest strengths. That standardization of a specific naming convention stands in stark contrast to the types of names that often exist within black communities. This gets even more ridiculous when you take into consideration the idea that quote-unquote black-sounding names are often the only ones that get lambasted for being silly or sounding absurd. With any other ethnicity, we inherently understand that their names are products of their culture and we respect that. It seems like African Americans specifically are the only ones exempt from this cultural understanding in the modern era. We can take this one step further by drawing a line between Leon and Khalil. Nameplates aside, hypothetically, if we jumped ahead in time and allowed them to join the workforce and gave them the same exact credentials, experience, and references, it is far more likely that Leon would get called in for an interview over Khalil simply because of the idea that with his name, there's a solid chance that he could be a white man. Whereas with Khalil, his name makes it a solid gamble that he's either black or brown. I would even be willing to bet money that despite her own name, Jamaica purposely named her son Leon to make his life even the slightest bit easier. I'd put money on that because I know people that have done that, understanding how much power names can have. Backing off the heavy stuff for a moment, Khalil and LaShawn proceed to raise hell in the gift shop. They have no real regard for what's going on around them other than the fact that they're having fun. When Robin finally intervenes, he notices Pee-wee is still unaccounted for. Khalil refuses to say where his brother is, but also covers Leon's mouth when he begins to speak, again demonstrating the difference between them. Khalil says they were just having fun, saying other kids were doing it too. Then we're shown 3 other kids being dickheads, but it's important to note that the other kids aren't black. I think one of them is Asian of some sort, but still, not being black is a massive advantage for them in terms of avoiding repercussions. As with many things in this film, this kind of open double standard mirrors real-world issues in which sometimes simply existing as a black kid in America is enough to invite trouble, even when you're engaged in an activity other kids do all the time. Simultaneously, it's one of those things that we as black people have instilled in us from youth that we have to be much more aware of our actions, even while playing, than those who don't share the same skin as us. It reminds me of a segment from Clint Smith's TED Talk, How to Raise a Black Son in America.
And said, son, I'm sorry, but you can't act the same as your white friends. You can't pretend to shoot guns. You can't run around in the dark. You can't hide behind anything other than your own teeth. I know now how scared he must have been.
Khalil asks if they can get some food because he's hungry, and there's a kind of panic from LaShawn, who covers his mouth and remarks that they were too excited to eat breakfast. As a kid, I didn't understand why she'd do that, but as an adult, it's one of those red flags that makes your heart sink. Jamaica follows up by saying Bebe doesn't keep anything in her fridge, confirming what we as the audience suspect, but also verifying that she's very much aware of the issue the kids face at home. In a quintessentially 90s fashion, Bebe's kids hammer out the "Mama said knock you out" chant, and Leon looks like he's entertained by it and wants to join, but Jamaica shuts him down right away. It's very subtle, but plays into the idea that Jamaica shelters him. Sure, Bebe's kids are being disruptive, but that's just how kids are from time to time. Leon hadn't even joined into the chant, nor was he banging on the table. He was just lightly emulating the gesture, but that was enough for Jamaica to step in. Upon returning with the food, Robin narrates that the kids must have missed a few meals based on how quickly they scarf down their food. He's simultaneously observant and completely oblivious since he only sees the kids as an obstacle impeding him from getting with Jamaica. Leon gets sick on a Gravitron type ride, and honestly I don't blame him. And even though he's embarrassed for vomiting on and in front of the others, he still takes the time to thank Robin for helping to clean him up. The first thing Leon does after that is run to his mom and hug her since she is his safe place, as parents should be for their children. Robin and Jamaica attempt to split off to go on a romantic ride together, but Leon pleads to go with them. His strong desire to follow along with them shows us that he very much doesn't like the idea of being separated from his mother, and that he likes the idea of that separation being paired with the presence of Bebe's kids even less. At this point in the story, they've spent most of their time together, with Leon only leaving her side to go into the gift shop and get on some rides. Jamaica tells him to run along and play with his friends in reference to Bebe's kids, and understandably, Leon takes great offense to that comment. They're very clearly not his friends, and Leon voices that he hates whenever Jamaica babysits the trio, further emphasizing the idea that they make his life hell whenever they're around. It wasn't just the idea that Bebe's kids were hellions, but also the fact that his mother seemed oblivious to the notion that they weren't actually friends with Leon, kind of like a kids will be kids attitude. Without Jamaica consistently stepping in to curb the problematic behavior, even though Leon was often on his own turf, it's easy to assume he felt powerless anytime Bebe's kids were being babysat. That kind of oversight is what leads to the resentment we see from Leon all throughout the first 2 acts of the film. Eventually, Robin has a small chat with Leon about the nature of earning respect, telling him to just keep doing what he's doing without caring about what Bebe's kids think of him. It's mature advice, but is given to Leon in an attempt to shoo him away, not necessarily address the root cause of Leon's frustration. I do think there's an argument to be made about getting children to stand up for themselves, but only when done in good faith and from a place of genuine care for the child's sense of independence and maturity. However, considering why Robin was trying to get Leon to go away, I don't think that falls under good faith. When returning to the group, LaShawn tells Leon that she thought he was going to hang around his mama all day, to which he replies,
"At least my mom is here."
Which is both amazingly simple and scathingly hurtful within the context of the film. Between Leon's clapback and the kid's response to it, this also demonstrates that both parties are painfully aware of Bebe's consistent absence. Skipping ahead a bit, we see that through all of the shenanigans that go down, Bebe's kids always stick together. Like when Khalil is snagged by a giant Terminator-adjacent robot, LaShawn and Pee-wee immediately give chase to demand his freedom. Their unwavering support for one another clearly stems from the fact that they have no adult in their lives truly looking out for them, except Jamaica, who isn't there every day either. They've internalized the idea that none of the adults are going to care enough to make sure they're okay, so it's up to them to look out for one another for better or worse. There's an entire courtroom scene that has quite a bit of nuance to unpack, enough that there really isn't enough time to touch on it without giving it a dedicated section and forfeiting more time than I have. It touches on the American criminal justice system in a few ways that are unfortunately still relevant nearly 30 years later, with the most notable being the massive discrepancy between the severity of a crime of someone of color, Khalil in this case, versus the severity of the punishment doled out by the system. In this scene, Khalil is on trial for attacking a soldier, which he is guilty of, but the robot adjudicating the trial wants to give Khalil the death sentence. A pretty wild thing to levy at a child, but it's not entirely off base either. The section of the film has a lot to say about the power of mercy in the courtroom, especially in regard to individuals that would be better served with rehabilitation, specifically young brown and black folk who still have their entire lives ahead of them and mountains of untapped potential, but don't get the same leniency as their white counterparts. The movie does try to stave off how heavy the thematic implications are by selling the scene through a pretty awful musical number, but that doesn't completely negate the tone once you pick up on it. Let's get forward to the end though. As things conclude, we start to see all of the pieces falling into place after Robin takes the kids home. Bebe's apartment is in a pretty seedy part of town, and Jamaica prompts them to say thank you to Robin for the day. The way they speak in unison and without putting up a fight shows that when Jamaica has them, even if she doesn't always step in to exercise her own control over them, she makes them use their manners. It's a step in the right direction in terms of guiding them, but it clearly isn't enough as evidenced by their behavior earlier in the day. On their way in, 2 men run out, having robbed someone's apartment, really driving home the point that this is a terrible neighborhood. Jamaica intends to walk the kids in after seeing the burglars, but Robin steps up, not out of concern for Jamaica or the kids' safety, but because he wants to give Bebe a piece of his mind. Robin himself goes on to comment that he understood why the kids spent so much time with Jamaica after seeing the interior of their apartment building, saying that it looked as though they lived next door to a crack house. LaShawn has a key to their home, firmly solidifying the trio as latchkey kids, which is a term used to describe kids who would let themselves into their homes, usually after school, because their parents or guardians were working. At one point, my siblings and I were latchkey kids, but unlike Bebe's kids, we were fortunate enough that our mother came home at a reasonable time, and to a degree we always knew where she was. It's clear that when they get inside, the kids are eager to see their mother, but she still isn't present. Robin finds a note that Baby left on the fridge intended for Jamaica, asking her to give the kids dinner and that she'll be home soon. Yet, there's nothing in the fridge to feed the children, nor did she leave any money behind. We can gather based on Khalil's comment from earlier and the note left behind that Baby was banking on Jamaica's kindness to make sure her kids were fed. Robin, finally starting to understand why the kids are the way they are, gives them $10 to order pizza, but Pee-wee relays that the pizza guy doesn't deliver in that area anymore, likely because of how unsafe the neighborhood is. So even though he was kind enough to give them money without any place willing to deliver, that gesture is ultimately unable to temporarily stave off their hunger issue. Even if they did manage to get pizza, which they do before the film ends, it's still only a temporary mitigation. The next day, they'll still be the same kids in the same apartment with the same negligent mother, and before long, they'll be hungry again. It's a legitimately soul-crushing realization knowing that unless they were in school or with Jamaica, Bebe's kids were very likely missing meals on a consistent basis. What makes this even sadder is the fact that child hunger rates in America have only increased since the release of this film. According to statistics I could find, somewhere in the ballpark of 36 million people, including 13 million children, live in households that are food insecure, meaning that they experience hunger or the risk of hunger. That boils down to a little more than 1 in 10 households, with Bebe's kids living the reality of one of those households. Anyway, the kids seem genuinely upset to watch Robin leave, and as someone that's always wanted to be a parent, this scene breaks my heart every time. Even though Robin was tough on them all day, just the fact that he was present all day and showed them even a smidge of intermittent kindness was enough for the kids to latch onto him, even if they didn't necessarily show it until it was time to face their personal reality again. In the absence of their mother, all these kids wanted was to be seen and acknowledged by an adult that cared in a safe environment. They wanted for themselves what they could clearly see Leon had with his mother, which was likely a driving force and why they picked on him so much. They were envious. Simultaneously, it's not too big-brained to assume that despite their envy of Leon, they genuinely enjoyed being around Jamaica because she represented everything their mother wasn't. She was a caring, nurturing, but most importantly, present figure in Leon's life. Jamaica was the exact kind of parent the three of them needed, and they were all emotionally aware enough to recognize that. The film does end on a fairly lighthearted note with the kids going to Vegas with Robin, Jamaica, and Leon, so at the very least, you feel some relief from the weight of the apartment scene. Considering the themes and messages are wrapped up in a goofy family adventure, it's easy to overlook them or let them go in one ear and out the other because of how absurd some scenes get. You could be forgiven for walking away from Bebe's kids and forgetting about it nearly instantly, especially if social commentary isn't really your thing. However, I think Bebe's kids, despite the overall quality of the film, does a pretty good job of quietly telling the story of what these kids experience and internalize without shoving it down your throat, finally drawing the most attention to it with the finale. Most films these days trip over themselves trying to impress you with how clever their social commentary is because they can't wait to get those sweet, sweet social media points. It's a common occurrence for films to become weighed down by commentary that's implemented insincerely, and audience members are skilled at calling out that kind of pandering. Films like that fail to make their social critiques feel organic because they don't trust the audience to understand subtext, so instead they scream their message through a bullhorn, usually to the film's detriment. But Bebe's kids trust your rational and emotional intelligence enough to let you pick up on the nuance yourself, and I really appreciate that as someone who tends to look out for these things. It can provide some adult laughs and some eye-rolling groans, but when you take an analytical eye to it and dig just a little bit deeper, you're forced to sit there and acknowledge the uncomfortable reality of Bebe's kids. Thank you guys so much for watching. I originally wanted to get this video out at the end of November, but COVID kind of ruined that plan for me. The new schedule going forward should allow me the breathing room necessary to put out content without feeling too rushed, but I'll talk more about the changes coming to the channel at the end of the next video. Once again, if you haven't already, you should join the community Discord server. It's still small, but that just makes it easier to get to know each other while it's growing. We'd love to have you there, and it would be a great place to interact since I'm always on Discord in some capacity. The link for that is going to be both in the description as well as the pinned comment. For those who want to follow in Zoran's footsteps and show some support on Patreon, there's a link to that too. As little as $1 a month will get you access to the Patreon peak, where you'll be able to see videos 3 to 5 days before anyone else, as well as direct access to suggestions for videos, especially when the new content is added into the mix. We'll be back again later this month with another video, but until then, be sure to take care of yourselves and others, and as always, thanks for watching.